What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Trophy Room Podcast. I'm your host, your boy Nick, back at it again with another episode. I'm here ready to talk NBA, NFL, MLB, WNBA, and more. What's up, everybody? I do want to apologize, get this out the way. I had to go on a school hiatus, so I haven't been around for a month, but I'm back. I'm better than ever, passed all my classes, and I got a guest with me, so I had to spoil you guys, man. I got one of the pick a side legends, one of the Twitter guys, one of my favorite Steeler fans. My boy John Tortorelli came in ready to talk hoops, ready to talk football, man. Let me know how you feeling on this trophy room day, man.
I'm feeling great. Vibes are high. Steelers wreck. This is an exciting week as a fan, but all together, I'm excited to chop up some hoops with you, and glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Listen, man, I appreciate you coming, man.
Of course,
I appreciate you coming into the trophy room and just talking game. All right. So first thing I got to talk about is it happened a couple days ago. It's already been a couple games. I got to talk about this Knicks trade. Knicks trade with the Raptors for OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Malachi Flynn. The Knicks get those guys. Raptors get RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly still hurts, and some draft picks. Now they've already had their debuts with their teams. So John, I want to start with you. Who do you think won the trade, lost the trade? Let me know what you think.
I felt like from the very start, Knick fans are going to be tight, but it was the ultimate win-win to me because each of these two teams are in a completely different time frame. With Toronto, they got as much young talent, as much competitive players to be a relatively mediocre team right now. Quickly was perfect for them because they need that lead guard to play off of Scotty. And I feel like it's going to take some time for them to understand what they actually got here because Quickly did average 23 points as a starter last year at the Knicks. The one criticism for New York I felt was that they never put him in the starting lineup for an extended period of time to see can he be that third star that so many people are clamoring for. Now, the bigger criticism for me would be I don't think RJ Barrett's a very good player. He's played relatively solid in Toronto so far. It's just the right type of environment for him to develop. Low pressure. He's going to play more in transition. Hopefully, not going to be stuck in the corner as much. And if he's ever going to develop, I felt like Toronto would be the perfect place. It's his home country. And their coach in Darko Rajakovic really cares about ball movement. And with RJ, my criticism always came from he's not going to be a good shooter. He's going to be an average shooter. But can he be the type of forward who's going to be a high-level playmaker? You think of Jimmy Butler, the greatest example of a guy who is not a very good three-point shooter or not very consistent one, right? He's able to control games with that change of pace and decision-making. And if RJ Barrett can really develop that, the Raptors can win this trade pretty easily, gain 2 for 1. But I think altogether, OG Anunoby is a super underrated player. I mean, for a long time, I've made the case he's the best isolation defender in basketball. And at 6'9", 250, he's a guy that can switch on Joel Embiid. And last year, there were games where he'd guard Harden, then he'd switch on Joel, and Joel will not score on him. And then a day later, he can be guarding Damian Lillard, switching on a Giannis. He's able to front the post. He's a good enough athlete to help him recover. I mean, what the Knicks got was a jack of all trades. He's a master of two skills. Phenomenal corner shooter, excellent isolation defender. And I feel like so many people are downplaying. Like Julius Randle can play better this year in the playoffs. And it's because OG Anunoby is a better fit. Not to mention, the Knicks are kind of evolving as a team. You've got Randle playing a completely different role. Jalen Brunson is continuing to iron and sharpen his sword. I feel like New York is getting a little bit too much hate from people like Stephen A., who have such big voices in media. And quite frankly, they're not utilizing it to highlight. The Knicks are making a lot of really sound moves here. And altogether, I felt this was a win-win. I gave both teams a B+.
Absolutely, man. Honestly, I completely agree with you. Just to talk about from the Raptors perspective, I think getting Emmanuel Quickly was huge. Getting that, like you said, getting that lead guard, getting that guy who can play off of Scotty, who can play off of Pascal Siakam if they decide to keep him, which I don't think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Being able to be that outlet guy for Jakob Poeltl after an offensive rebound, kick it out, three-pointer. RJ, like you said, it's his hometown. Hopefully he can get his feet wet. He can start to have a little bit of a better career. Like you said, when he was in New York, he was that second guy to Julius Randle. But once you got Jalen Brunson, he took a big backseat. You got Dante DiVincenzo coming up. He took another backseat. Emmanuel Quickly showed up as that in that six-man role. And then when he started games, he was dropping 25. He had that 40 ball against the Celtics. and RJ was nowhere to be found. So for RJ to move into Toronto, hopefully he'll get a little bit more comfortable. He'll be able to get into the groove of things. Hopefully we'll see the RJ we saw back in Duke, the guy that loved to attack the rim and just like go to that left hand all the time. RJ in his debut, 19 points, 9 rebounds. Similar. You said what?
He's getting on the glass.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then IQ's debut, 14 points, 2 steals, 6 rebounds. But the other day against the Grizzlies, IQ was the top scorer in his second game with the Raptors, 26 points, 5 assists. So now that IQ is getting that starting role, I think IQ is really going to find a home in Toronto. He's that lead guard. He's going to get paid that he didn't get in New York. So he's definitely going to show out. And just to talk about the Knicks, I love the Precious Achiuwa signing. Miami Heat player. We drafted him. I got to get this out the way. Second of all, my boy came in with the Jaime Hawkins Jr. just won Rookie of the Month for the second month in a row. Number 3, arguably number 2 in Rookie of the Year race. So, but I think Precious is great. Give them a little bit more depth at the big man side, especially losing Mitchell Robinson to injury. I think Malachi Flynn, he'll probably be up and down the G League. We'll see what happens. Right. There's a lot of guards on that team. But like you said, OG Anunoby, he's just the perfect fit for the Knicks. You play against when you play against a team like the Pacers who are hot 4 times a year. The best player, Tyrese Halliburton. You can tell OG, hey, just guard him and let Jalen Brunson, let Julius Randle cook. Julius Randle doesn't have to take those big matchups. When you play the Lakers, you don't have to guard Anthony Davis. You can sag off and guard like a Taurean Prince or something. You can focus on your offensive game. And the thing I love about OG, like you said, he's an ISO scorer. I also love that he gets into passing lanes. He's that all-around defender that the Knicks really need.
Right.
It's such a complementary piece to Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and just that whole organization in general.
And the other part, too, why I'm so high on this from the Knicks is because it feels like he's an appetizer. And I've said this multiple times.
A lot of people have been saying that, yeah. He's like a small move to make a bigger move.
Exactly. They've got 5 first-round picks that are likely. And they've got a 6, which is like a Pistons lottery-protected pick. That's never going to see the light of day. Exactly. So if they're waiting and holding their chips close to the chest, what they're telling you is in the next 18 months, we know the right star will eventually become available. But they're not going to just jump for the first star because oftentimes that's going to be the wrong move. Exactly. And the name that I've kept seeing thrown around, it was loosely reported yesterday, Donovan Mitchell on the trade block. If I'm the Knicks, I'm not looking to get a Donovan Mitchell because he's 6'1" and played alongside Jalen Brunson. We're not going to be able to build that defensive identity. And especially Tom Thibodeau as their head coach, they want to get more size and physicality. Isaiah Harden had 17 rebounds last night in their win. I mean, I think in this Eastern Conference, the amount of high-end playoff teams that are overwhelming physically. You've got Boston with Kristaps and Tatum. You've got Milwaukee with their big duo. And then you've got the Miami Heat who play so much bigger than their actual height would say. Absolutely. You want to be able to physically match them. And so for the Knicks to build that kind of gritty 1990s dogma yet again, that's going to be so valuable in June and May. And I feel like the right stars of the Knicks would be Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic in 2 years, and any other top 10 to 15 player who you feel like can be the true alpha on a championship team. I don't know what you feel. I've always felt Jalen Brunson can lead a team to the conference finals. I mean, last year they were 2 games away. But if he's your number 2, you're going to feel great about this Knicks core. But at the end of the day, I think the main reason why they're so comfortable making this is because they didn't want to give quickly that $30 million some team's going to give them in restricted free agency. And they also want to get more size and versatility on the defensive end. So,
absolutely, I completely agree with you, especially with not paying quickly, especially with all the guards that they have over there. Right. And I think when it comes to the Knicks, I think they shouldn't make a move now. I think you should definitely wait for the offseason, especially because there have already been rumors since the beginning of the season that Donovan Mitchell might not sign his extension. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't sign his extension, why would you trade away pieces now when you can just sign him later on? If that's really what they want. I understand the fit because, he's a New Yorker and he's got the background. He loves to play in the big lights. He's arguably a top 3 shooting guard in the league. behind probably guys like Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards.
Definitely in
And
the regular season.
exactly, like it's just I don't know what they're gonna do, but I want to. I think they should wait. I think OG was the right move for now.
Right.
See how the rest of the season goes. They're definitely going to be a playoff team. They can probably go to the second round depending on who they play in the first round. And if they can really pick it up, get like a top 4 seed, they can have a semi easy way to the conference finals.
Without Mitchell Robinson,
It's tough.
how far are they going this year?
Ooh, that is tough. I mean, if they probably second round, because I think Mitchell Robinson is huge defensively. Because Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein are two different types of bigs. Isaiah's more of a like a back to the basket rough rider. When you got Mitchell Robinson who sets picks, catches lobs, blocks shots, blocks 3-point shots. Like he's always been one of the league leaders in blocks. He's always been up there. So losing Mitchell Robinson definitely does hurt a lot.
I'll say this. I actually think Hartenstein's a lot closer to Mitchell Robinson than people would think.
Okay.
Because what Mitch does best, and Hartenstein had 20 rebounds, not 17, is just terrorizing teams on the glass. And
Yes.
per 36 through his career, Isaiah Hartenstein has been consistently one of the most valuable backup centers in basketball.
Mhm.
But the issue is always foul trouble. In New York, he now gets the perfect opportunity to be a starting center for full time. Last night, he had 5 blocks. The difference between the two to me is their pick and roll defense, where Mitch has lost some athleticism, but he's still way better, way more versatile to defend up on screens and also drop back because of his length. And he's just like 2 or 3 inches taller. If Isaiah Hartenstein, though, is giving you 11 rebounds a night, he's blocking 2 shots, being average to above average rim protector, and he's finishing plays on lobs, averaging 2.5 assists a game, doing a little bit as a connective tissue type of fifth starter, if you will.
Mhm.
I feel like the Knicks just need to maintain a top 4 seed from 2 years ago in 2021, 2.5 years ago. But if they're the AC like they are right now, I think they're going to be a first round exit this year, and people are going to jump to the conclusion they made this trade from nothing.
Yeah, which I don't think is the right move because you got to remember OG's contract is for another, I think, 3 years.
He does have a player option, actually. So
Oh,
this
okay.
year he's up for a new extension for 3 or 4.
Mhm.
But I think the right time to judge this trade, if we're going to, if it has to come down to being judged, would be next year.
Yeah.
Because at this time of the year in a year, I feel like the Knicks will be kind of at their peak, their prime window. But this year is kind of just the intro, like there should be no expectations for them this year is what I'm getting at. But there's still a chance that they get a top 4 seed, that they can win a playoff series without. I would say Mitchell Robinson's their 4th most important player now, but like last year, it's their 3rd most important player in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, but he was not guarding Bam Adebayo. That's all I'm going to say about that.
no, yeah, I mean, he was making the mid-range shots.
Absolutely,
No one
man.
was.
So now my question to you is: when it comes to the Raptors, what's the next move? Do you keep this team to the end of the season, or do you try to find a way to trade Pascal?
So the Raptors right now are 14-20. That's good for the 12th seed in the Eastern Conference.
I do
They
not.
have won both games.
I can barely see them making the play-in.
I would agree with you. I mean, Chicago has played better. Atlanta's a better team. Brooklyn is a better team. They probably are the 11th or 12th best team in the East. So Pascal Siakam is due for this max contract. He wants to stay so he get a super max. If I'm the Raptors, you have to trade Pascal as soon as possible. But there's
Absolutely.
no suitors, really. The only team that would make sense would be the Atlanta Hawks. But why would the Hawks want to make that move when they're trying to ship off DeJounte? They don't have the resources. If anything, there might not be a trade partner for Pascal this year. And if that's the case, they'd have to hold on to him. So at that point, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you've got RJ at the 2,
Mm,
probably his natural position. But on the offensive end, a combination of RJ, Scotty at 3, Pascal at the 4, and Jakob Poeltl at the 5 is disgusting floor spacing. So
absolutely.
I feel like the roster construction by Masai this year altogether has been horrible
Mhm.
because they should have moved Pascal last year. And the same could have been said with OG. And they've waited so long that now they're kind of just stuck with these guys. And it's quite clear everyone needs to move on. I think the comparison that was made, which is so perfect, is New Orleans Saints, where you got to move on from the head coach. You've got to find a new quarterback, but you're kind of committing to purgatory when there's really no point. You won a championship 5 years ago. So, um, I think when looking at like irrelevance right now, Toronto would probably be at the top of that list. And the only way they're going to get out of that is if Emmanuel quickly blossoms into a star. And
Which he will.
I think the odds of him becoming an all-star are unlikely in this Eastern Conference.
Oh, absolutely. This Eastern Conference is loaded with guards.
You want to know what the perfect comparison is? Joel made a Mike Conley comp. Conley didn't make an all-star team until Utah. And I think that is like the right type of way to view quickly. Same type of archetype, same skill set, great vibes. But if you're getting like the 12th or 13th best point guard in the NBA, I feel they're going to be stuck in this play environment for the next 3 or 4 years until some type of star blossoms alongside Scotty with a lineup that fits. Because Barnes this year is shooting the lights out. He's having his best defensive season. He's looking like a way more complete player, though I like his motor to be higher and more consistent. That's a big thing with him.
Yeah.
If they can find a second star, they're going to have a bright future. But right now, it's just Scotty Barnes and pieces that don't fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, one of the places I saw that is good that Pascal was linked to was Indiana, and I actually don't like that. I think it's really bad because Pascal is more of a in the paint, back to the basket, spin move, mid range.
Right.
When you look at that Indiana offense, that's the complete opposite of Pascal's game, and it does not work. The Hawks, I understand because they like to play a lot of half court. You know, Trae Young is a big half court guy, offense, all that. But Indiana, I'm not feeling it. So, like you said, they got to trade him immediately. I just don't know where he's going to go. Don't bring him to South Beach. I'm not taking him.
I want to take him.
Don't bring him to South Beach.
He's such an odd fit. Like guys like Trae Young and Pascal that are always hovering in the trade block have to be on rosters that are perfectly designed around them. Trae Young 2021, Pascal in 2019. If you don't have the perfect environment for Pascal to step into, you're not trading 2 first-round picks for a guy you're then going to have to splurge $240 million on if he makes an NBA team. And that is where guys like him become tweeners. Quite literally, his position he's a tweener is a 4-5. But it's like there's no team in the league that really has a clear need for him. And even Toronto, they saw Pascal blossom into an all-NBA player, and yet they still want to replace him with Scotty Barnes because he's a more complete player that can shoot, is more impactful defensively. So I would say slightly better
great passer
at his age. So it's like I think there's somewhat a fading appeal in Siakam because in that 2019 season he was so efficient, but as his role has increased, he's really just had fading appeal league wide.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like I just don't know where he's gonna go. I don't know where he's gonna fit.
Let's look at no. I was gonna say Dallas Mavericks, but they don't have the cap space to extend.
I've heard that too because I know Luka needs another star.
Does he?
But I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Don't get me wrong. I love Kyrie Irving. He's not the star next to Luka.
I think he is.
I do. It's one basketball. I said it since they made the trade. I love Luka. I think Luka's great. Doesn't play defense for a lick, but he's so good. Him and Kyrie don't mix.
I mean,
him and Kyrie don't mix.
Their offensive rating is top 10. It's been slightly
as they should be.
I think they're a very good fit because Luka is the closest thing to LeBron James as a playmaker, and he had to play in a heliocentric role because there's such little talent.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Irving is on the team, right? He's only played 19 games. He's been out for he's been out of the lineup for basically the entirety of December, that is, and just came back in. When the two are on the floor, they're an elite, truly impeccable closing offense. Their clutch offense is on the same level as the 2022 Suns that won 64 games. The Warriors back in the glory days of Kevin Durant. Like, it's in rare company, but it's just a matter of availability. If Irving's on the floor, I mean, they've built a good enough roster. So I think if there's like a Pascal Siakam destination, Dallas wouldn't be in the picture. But one team that is Wayne needy, and I think this is the right type of fit, it's not mentioned often because they really like to hold their assets close to chest. It's the Memphis Grizzlies. They're 11-23. They're trying to make this play and push. They have a superstar in John Morant. I don't think Pascal is a perfect fit with them because you've got Jaren at the 4 and Steven Adams who needs to play the 5. But if they believe Jaren's going to get his numbers up on the boards, and you slide Pascal at the 4, that could be a fit with some symmetry offensively.
That's not that bad. I see what you're saying. I see the vision, especially because they're a bunch of young guys. They like to run, they like to gun. So, like in the half court, Pascal will definitely help. I just don't. I mean, sliding Jaren to the 5 is not that bad either.
It could be good.
My thing about Jaren Jackson, I don't consider Jaren Jackson Jr. a primary defender. He's not a like, oh, my matchup's AD. All right, if he backs me down, nobody move. No.
He's like Giannis.
He's not that guy. He's not that guy. He's more of a help side defender. So if you slide him to the 5, he's gonna have tougher matchups guarding guys like AD, guarding guys like Jokic every night, guarding Embiid every other day. Like he has a problem guarding Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. He is not like a Bam. He is Giannis, and Giannis needs to play alongside Brook Lopez.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, he's not an anchor. And with Jackson, not only is he a poor rebounder, but he is shooting 33% from 3 the last 3 years after that injury in 2020. We have never seen him be a good, consistent shooter since his sophomore year in the bubble in 2020.
I don't think I've ever seen him be a good offensive player.
He doesn't have the feel. He's one of those players that's always driving with his left hand. He becomes so predictable that if you place him at the 5 and I think a smaller offensive role would be good for him. But now you're putting him into the type of position where he has to attack off closeouts. That's not his game. He's going to be a spot-up shooter. He can make spot-up shots, but he's going to let you down. And all the complementary skills you want, like a 4th starter, he doesn't bring. That's where, like, great defensive player. But Jaren is another guy like Pascal where he does create problems offensively. And so,
absolutely,
yeah, that would be a non-fit altogether.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, all I know is he's got to get traded. Pascal's got to get traded. He's got to go. I just don't know what you're gonna get for him. What's the haul? But it's not it.
I almost just splurted out the Lakers and I started laughing.
Oh my God! Stop.
Hey, they want to start, man.
They need a lot.
And you know what? Pascal's an expiring contract. That's something I didn't mention. So by Toronto waiting this long, they might just try to play it through into the offseason and they lose him for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
If the Raptors lose Pascal Siakam for absolutely nothing, the same way they did Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, I feel like Masai Ujiri should be on the hot seat. Because with the amount of good players and all-star caliber starters he's had in his roster, to have the only redeemable asset in return be Emmanuel Quickley is a gigantic failure. And trade a top 6 protected first-round pick this year, they trade that for Jakob Poeltl, the 21st best center in the NBA. So, I mean, I think Masai Ujiri is in fraud watch, personally. This was a guy who was like a premier top 3 GM in 2014, 2018, 2019. But these last 4 years have been as bad as possible when it comes to being exposed.
Absolutely. All right. So you want to add anything else?
No, I think that's the end of it. What do you think Masai Ujiri should be on the hot seat to lose Pascal for nothing?
Honestly, now that you brought that up, yes. When you like you said, like and I'm pretty sure there have been talks where Pascal says whatever team he gets traded to, he's not signing an extension. So he's gonna leave regardless. So if Masai doesn't take the opportunity to trade him and at least get something in return, and like you said, all you get is Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett
in his contract
for an all NBA player, like that's really bad. That's really bad.
Sam Presti turned Serge Ibaka into Shea and $1 million first-round picks, which became Jalen Williams and a budding contender. Wow. If you can do that with Serge Ibaka in 2017, I know. In 2016, I know with OG Anunoby, Pascal, Fred VanVleet, and Kyle Lowry, you can build a good young core.
Absolutely.
That's the difference.
Oh my God.
That's why Sam Presti is the magician, and like it seems like he's playing chess and Masai is playing checkers.
Everybody else is like playing checkers or like something else. Sam Presti is amazing.
Yeah, it's a high bar, but I mean Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens have both replicated it too, and that's why Boston's where they're at, and Utah's got so much flexibility.
Yeah, I think Utah. I think if you just, I think if they get like one or two more pieces, I think they
A
can.
point guard?
No, but honestly, yes.
If they
Like,
get any point guard.
yeah, like I love Keontae, but he's not a point guard.
Not yet.
No, not at least not at least not yet.
He was perfect in summer league, but he's been their best point guard on the roster, and he's
A rookie.
very raw.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's been their problem.
You see him make the rookie mistakes. You see him miss wide open jump shots. You see him miss assignments, miss passes, all that. Like
Mike Conley held that team together as number 1 seed for a little bit.
oh
They
my
lose him, and now
him and Donovan Mitchell.
well, after he was traded last year, I mean, they were a first seed for a couple of weeks there in December at this time.
That's very true.
So
No, you're absolutely right. All right, so on to the All Stars for the East and the West. This year, we're going back to that format, East versus West. I don't know why. I like the other format. They had it for a couple years. I thought it was a hit, and then now they want to go back to East versus West. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really upset because the East always loses, and it pisses me off. So just like they just put out the votes, Alice, I think yesterday about who's leading, who's not leading up there. I put together a starting five for the East and the West. I do have a couple like two. I think I have one on each side where it's like it could go either way.
Gotcha.
So the format I did 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center.
I did that as well.
So I want to start with the West. So with the West, the 2 guards I obviously have SGA. SGA averaging 31 points a game, 6.4 assists, 2.5 steals a game for the Oklahoma City Thunder as the second seed in the Western Conference. My other guard, I have Luka Doncic, 33 points a game, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 1.3 steals. His turnovers are off the charts, but he's really the only thing going on with the Mavs right now. Like you said, like they have a decent roster. Kyrie hasn't been healthy all year. Derek Lively's been shown a lot, which I think is really good for him. I think the kid's a perfect fit next to Luka.
Playing next to Luka is the easiest job in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Derek Jones and Dante Exum, what they're feeling right now.
Listen, the fact that he rejuvenated Dante Exum's career just shows to how great Luka is.
Exum shooting 45% from 3. I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
Sorry, it's crazy. It's only 2 attempts.
Still. So my 2 forwards I have for the Western Conference. My first forward I have Paul George. 23 points a game. Is it 23? Yeah, 23 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Him and Kawhi have been neck and neck with games played. But I think when you look at a lot of the games this year for the Clippers, I think PG's been more of the important guy. He's been one of their main scorers. I think Kawhi's averaging like a little bit more. But I think PG's one of their main scorers. Kawhi's been one of their primary defenders. And I just think like when you watch the games, I think PG's one of the more guys that gets everybody else involved. Now that they have James Harden, PG took a little bit of a step back, but still, I think PG's been arguably probably the best player on that team this season. And at number 4, I have Kevin. Number 4, I had a back and forth between Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard for the same reasons I just said about PG. He's been their primary defender. He's been great for them. But like I said before, I think PG's the better guy for their team right now. But you can't ignore what Kawhi is doing. And just to talk about Kevin Durant, I understand the Suns are a low seed right now. But I think out of the big 3 that they have, Kevin Durant's played the most games. He's averaging 36 and 6. And he's just Kevin Durant. Like he's the one that keeps them in games. He's the one that gets the timely buckets. He's great in the pass. He's always been a good help side defender. He's helping out Nurkic a lot. And like he's just been their spark.
He's playing 37 minutes a game too.
You said what?
He's playing 37 minutes a night as well.
37 minutes a night. Like at his age is like that's nuts. And then at the center position, obviously you got the best center in the league right now is Nikola Jokic. 25 points a game, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. I mean, the Denver Nuggets are, I think, 3rd in the Western Conference, like 3rd or 4th. So, Nikola Jokic is doing his thing, especially without Aaron Gordon. He's still been doing his thing without Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic is getting everybody involved. Michael Porter's been playing decently. He's been a little bit in and out. You got to give Jokic a lot of credit because when you look at their young guys like Peyton Watson, Christian Braun, and
Julian
they have
Strother.
You said what?
Julian Strother.
Yes, Julian Strother. That's the other guy I wanted to talk about. I see that they do this with Jokic the same way they do it with Jason Tatum in Boston. They let Jokic play the whole first quarter. They give Jokic a break. Then when Jokic comes back in, he comes in with the bench. He gets everybody involved in the offense, and everybody else just plays defense. So they help him on the defensive end. Reggie Jackson's been great all year since Jamal Murray went down. And you said what?
It's been really good. Sorry.
Exactly. And Nikola Jokic has just been unstoppable.
The craziest stat to kind of summarize that, when Nikola Jokic is on the floor, the Nuggets have a plus 27 point differential, meaning he has the highest point differential in basketball. Mm-hmm. And this is the 9th year of his career, the 10th year of his career, the 9th, that he has not had an all-star teammate. Jamal Murray has been hurt this year, as you alluded to. Aaron Gordon did come back, which is great to see because, the injury he had from a dog bite sounded pretty insane if it was a national headline. Absolutely. And that's valuable. But, when he's off the floor, you're just talking about Reggie Jackson, a bunch of young guys who really stand no chance. And that's why every single year the question is just their bench. So my team for the Western Conference is pretty similar. I do have one difference. So the backcourt, Shai and Luka. Right now, these are two of the top 3 leading MVP candidates. I believe Shai is probably the best two-way guard in the NBA. Absolutely. The last time a player averaged 30 plus points per game and 2.5 steals was Michael Jordan. And I believe Allen Iverson was very close. But looking at Shai's control of the game, if Derrick White and Drew Holiday are struggling to contain him, I don't know if any team in the NBA can simply guard him. The mid-range package that he has is been described as trying to catch a fish with your bare hands. Every time you're trying to stay in front of him, beat him to a spot, he hits you with the silky, smooth, turnaround fadeaway. And the mid-range shot making it is what kind of allows him to not have to be your typical guard. Mm-hmm. Most guards have to be good, high-volume three-point shooters. But Shai is the rare case where he's a wing. And so he can play as more physical, tacky mismatches. He's shooting, I think, 27 of 33 at the post this year. And in transition, he's been amazing. I think he's the most unique guard in the sport alongside De'Aaron Fox. Just, you don't see guys like them anymore. And I feel like Luka is another example of a guy that can play his own way. Doncic, believe it or not, he's averaging 4 turnovers a game. But what people may not know, I think it's 4. I just checked before.
Oh, okay.
What people may not know is that while Luka and Trae Young average a fair deal of turnovers, right now in the NBA, the teams that actually commit the least amount of turnovers, the Hawks, not this year, but usually they are among this group. It's teams like the Mavericks because Luka makes so many decisions. His 4 turnovers are a disproportionate sample size where it's so much larger than 2 or 3 guys who are distributing the labor. Therefore, the Mavericks' 12 turnovers a game is less than any team in the NBA. So Luka is technically a turnover-free player when considering his usage rate and the scalability of his play style. That's not to mention he's shooting 76% at the rim, which is better than many big men. And
that's a
49% at mid-range. So he's shooting damn near 40% from 3, and that's kind of just the entree or the appetizer to him being probably the most. I would say Shai is in this conversation, but Luka is even bigger, more powerful, and his change of pace is very unorthodox as well. But yeah, these are the 2 best guards right now in the sport. And that's saying something. His step's been slightly worse this year, slightly more human. It seems like teams can guard him in a more traditional sense. And the younger guys, the 24-year-olds, are kind of taking over the NBA. Those are the faces of the league right now. While at the forwards, I had Kevin Durant. He is leading the league in 3-point percentage. I don't know if that's going to sustain at 47%. But you did highlight with KD. He's been kind of a consistent rock in that lineup. The only gripe that I've had is the Suns' clutch offense has been awful, and they've lost so many games where him and Devin Booker have not been able to kind of take control, which has been disappointing. Without Beal, you hope that those guys will be able to win in the closing stretch, and I think they can. The second win for me would be Kawhi over Paul George. I was starting to think in the first month of the year when they're struggling that Kawhi might finally be starting to fall off. And then over the last 14 games, he's averaged over 30 points while shooting damn near 60% from the field. So with how high a level he's been playing at offensively, I cannot leave him off my list. He's been more controlled than LeBron. His play style is more complementary. And Kawhi is just one of the most efficient players I've ever seen in isolation. I mean, I don't think we recognize if he had LeBron's durability, we're talking about Kawhi being a top 10 player of all time because at his peak, he is a complete offensive player. When it comes to the scoring, he doesn't have to be an elite playmaker. And my last starter would obviously be Nikola Jokic. There's not a whole lot to really say. Joel Embiid is starting to finally climb up to that level that Jokic has been at for like 3 years now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will.
East?
You said what?
No, don't. Do you have something to say about my lineup?
No, I have nothing to say about your lineup. We basically almost had the same thing, but I do have a comment. Don't ever mention Derrick White on this show.
Why?
I despise that bald-headed man. He is one of those.
Man.
He's a what?
Talented ball-headed man.
Absolutely. He's just a Miami Heat killer. Like he's like a Malik Monk. When Malik Monk was in Charlotte. When Malik was in Charlotte, he was okay. When he played the Miami Heat, he dropped 30, 35, 36. I'm like, dude, like, what did we do to upset you? Same thing with Derrick White. Derrick White could be this elite defender all year, average 9 points a game. As soon as he steps in front of the Miami Heat, 20, 25, 25 and 6, 22, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks. Like, who are you?
Yeah, so what do you think about Derrick White being an all-star this year?
Absolutely not. Not happening. He doesn't. Again, I'm not a hater because I love the game. I analyze every player non-biased. I don't think Derrick White is an all-star caliber player. Like, if you told me all defensive first team, absolutely. Like, the kid takes hard matchups every night. He puts it all out on the floor, all that. I completely agree. Like, he's the modern day. He's like a modern day Alex Caruso with a little bit of a better three-point shot. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love Alex Caruso. What?
A little bit.
Yeah, like very much. But like Alex Caruso is still a great defender. But like when Alex Caruso was like early Bulls, Laker days, that's who Derrick White is now. I think Derrick White, all defensive first team, absolutely. All-star, all NBA, no.
All NBA is different because there's only 15 of those spots.
Absolutely.
I do think Derrick White's an all-star replacement. And when looking at the state of the Eastern Conference, it's only because it's so stacked the guard position. We're going to now jump into the East. Derrick White's not one of my starters, obviously, but he is the most efficient player on Boston. I mean, he's averaging 17 points per game while shooting 42% on nearly 7 3-point attempts per 36. That is the number. And he's also shooting 74% at the rim. This is a guy who is technically a fifth starter, but he's been the Celtics' second or third best player. And from a value element, I feel like Derrick White provides just as much value as Jaylen Brown. And that was an All-NBA player last year. Brown averages 4 or 5 more points per game, but he does so less efficiently. He is a clearly worse defender. And while he has been a better rebounder in years past, this year, Derrick White has thoroughly outperformed him. He's averaging more rebounds. The Celtics are better when Derrick White's on the floor. And for him to average 17 points per game on this level of efficiency is really indicative he's playing the best basketball of his career. And it may not be sustainable, but because of how special a season he's having, I think it is distinct enough for him to get the nomination. If D'Lo was an all-star in 2019 and DeJounte Murray was an all-star in 2022, Derrick White is absolutely an all-star candidate to be a replacement this season.
See, that's where I'm disagreeing with you because when you look at D'Angelo Russell in those years, his years in Brooklyn, D'Lo was the leader of that team. When you look at Derrick White this year, Derrick White, like you said, second, third best player on the team. You're still behind Jason Tatum. You're still behind Drew Holiday at times. You're still behind Jaylen Brown most of the season. You're behind Kristaps, and then when you look at DeJounte Murray, the whole reason the Spurs made the play-in was because of DeJounte. And
Like
DeJounte
basketball?
was putting up numbers. He's putting up triple-double, triple-double, triple-double. Like, I think he was like top 3 or 4 in triple-doubles that year. Like, they were having outrageous seasons. Like, when D'Lo was in Brooklyn, nobody thought that team was going to go anywhere. That D'Lo was averaging a calm 19, 20 points a game, 8 rebounds, shooting decent from the three-point line. He had help from Spencer Dinwiddie. I think Brook Lopez was there at the time.
He was traded.
He was already traded. My bad. But like they were on the come up, and D'Lo was the leader of that team. DeJounte was the leader of that team. I don't think Derrick White is that guy.
I would agree with you.
When you look at that Celtics roster, that leader is either Drew Holiday or Jason Tatum.
Tatum is the guy, but that Spurs team did stink. Absolutely. And when I look at All-Stars, I think value plays just as large of a role as numbers. DeJounte can put up 28 and 8, and it's impressive, but a lot of it's empty calories. It's not impacting a high-level offense. It's not translating to success. It's really just because somebody has to get the rebounds. At the point guard position, it's not that valuable. And DeJounte was not a good defender. He had the reputation as one, but the Spurs were one of the worst defenses in the game. And with D'Lo, he was averaging 21 and 7. That net team was mediocre. I feel like, while he was a worthy All-Star replacement, Derrick White has a unique case. He's one of the 3 best players on a team on pace to win 60 games. The best team in the Eastern Conference. And if you're looking at a worthy replacement, 17 points, first team All-NBA defense, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on remarkable efficiency with highlight plays that don't translate to the box score while being perfect connective score. You got to recognize his opportunity is very minimal. It's spot up threes. It's cutting to the rim, getting a backdoor cut like you saw in that game 6, and specifically making plays when everything breaks down. So the amount of points he's averaging per touch, per possession, is the most efficient in the NBA with stars who play way larger roles that he could not scale up to. But for him to thrive in the manner that he has as a 5th starter, outperforming Drew Holiday, playing almost at the same level as Kristaps Porzingis while being more available, Derrick White deserves that case.
So my only thing about that is like I completely agree with you. I definitely understand he's making the most out of everything he gets. I think Derrick White is a high-level role player. Like high level.
A star role player.
I don't know about that.
60% on twos, 40% on threes.
Who do you think is who's a better role player? Derrick White or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
Derrick White is a better 5th starter.
Oh.
The real question is Lonzo Ball or Derrick White?
Lonzo Ball.
And I would probably go with Derrick White.
Okay. I value Lonzo's facilitating ability at the point guard position.
In transition, I do, but he didn't average much more assists than D. White. D. White is a better scorer. He's a better defender, getting around screens than Lonzo. He's a better weak side rim protector. He's a better athlete. Lonzo is a good defender, very good one.
You said Derrick White is a better athlete than Lonzo Ball?
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
As a help side defender, as a rim protector, I'm talking about his rim protection on defense, that help and recover skill set. Lonzo had the leaping ability at UCLA, but once he got to the NBA, he was not necessarily the best in help and recovery. And that's a very different element than just,
No, absolutely.
I think Lonzo transitions quick.
Yeah.
But, athleticism, there's so many different parts of it. White is a more functional athlete that impacts the game more with his leaping ability, specifically as the rim protector. May not always lead to steals. Lonzo is just the quicker player that in transition is really fast, and he had a high vertical. But with the injuries too, Lonzo wasn't leveraging that athleticism to score. He was just a spot-up shooter, an elite one. But White is shooting the same clip almost on nearly the same volume. And if he's a better, more complete defender, I would say he's a slightly better player because he's also scoring in more ways and more clip.
Well, he's scoring in more ways because everybody's paying more attention to the Jays.
With how well DeMar was playing and Zach LaVine, you're right, but he was in the perfect role as well.
No, absolutely. When we talk about Lonzo Ball, it just really upsets me because I feel like Lonzo was such a big difference to that team.
a star role player. He's the third most important player in that team, and I'm not discrediting him. I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
the most important thing in the Bulls' downfall has been his injuries and
Absolutely.
also DeMar coming back down to earth. But I want to emphasize White's a more complete player than Zoe. That's saying something. Lonzo is more of a specialist, and Derrick White to me is a complete star role player. Like right now, top
You
60
sound
player.
like Dells right now.
Well, I
Like
mean,
Dells.
I'm only gonna make this case because this is what I'm seeing and this is what I'm observing.
I okay. I mean, I'm not. I'll never take away from Derrick White. Derrick White is like you said, high level role player. I just don't think it's enough to make an All Star team.
As a replacement, it is.
As a replacement, maybe, but like I don't know. It depends on who's on the team because then you have snubs that should be
Right.
there over him too.
I would have more LaMelo Ball because of LaMelo's injuries and Darius Garland because of his modest start. But now that we get to go to the Eastern Conference,
Yes.
so I'm going to give you my starters, and then I'm going to give you a couple of guards that would be above Derrick White. And you can tell me if Derrick White is top 5 in all-star voting among guards, top 7, top 9. So my lineup would start with Trae Young and Tyrese Halliburton in the backcourt. These two guys are the ultimate one-man offense, where Halliburton this year is more efficient. He's been a better, more complete player. Defensively, though, you can make the case Trae Young's actually a little bit better, and the reputation is Young's the worst defender in the sport. But he can do some stuff digging down. He's not a total train wreck in transition.
Mhm.
He is, and Tyrese to me is just the perfect do-it-all guard who can get rid of the ball quickly.
He's the
Whereas
he's the
Jan,
do it all point guard.
and he's got that vibe of Steph Curry in transition as a pull-up shooter, and then magic with his vision. So he is the
Absolutely.
best of both worlds in that aspect. I would say he's a better player right now, but
Mhm.
Trae Young's so underrated. I mean, the Hawks have put together the most MPC lineup around him. Not to mention Jalen Johnson, who was hurt, and Bogdanovich coming off the bench. It is the most average lineup in the NBA, and he's made a top 3 offense. Now we get to go to our forwards. I think straightforward. We've got Jason Tatum. I mean, Tatum this year has not necessarily been an MVP candidate, but the Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference. He's the best player in that team. And from an efficiency element, I think he's starting to diversify his game for the playoffs, trying to add more into the mid-range variety because he needs to be better in that aspect. But in the regular season, we're talking about a top 5 player in the sport sometimes. Um, Next up, I have Giannis at the 4. I've been slightly underwhelmed with his start defensively. Milwaukee does not look good, but a lot of that comes down to their perimeter defense. Giannis is still a good defender, maybe not defensive player of the year levels or close to that right now. Offensively, he's just overwhelming as always. And the best player in the Eastern Conference, I would say, disregarding the playoffs, the best player, the leading MVP candidate would probably be our center for the Eastern Conference, and that's Joel Embiid. I love the quote. He read the first 18 pages of Thinking Basketball, where they highlight when Wilt Chamberlain finally started to kick the ball out and he wasn't an isolationist and he got everyone else involved. And then he won a championship in 1967. Joel Embiid's done a lot of work to get into the right shape, to add more value as a passer. And quite frankly, Joel Embiid's becoming a different player. I think he deserves credit. And right now, he is far and away the best center. And honestly, I think, coming this year, I didn't have Joel Embiid as a top 10 player. I had Giannis number 2. A lot of that was giving credit to his playoff performances. Right now, Joel Embiid's a better player than Giannis. And I'll say that as somebody who had Giannis way higher coming this year, just a more complete all-around player. If Giannis could shoot and was better defensively, that would be Joel, quite frankly.
Absolutely. Okay.
Could shoot well
So
from mid-range at least, because I think Embiid's got to get a
yeah,
little better from 3.
and you said you had a couple people
Yes.
over
So
there.
now for our guards in the Eastern Conference. At the top for me, I've got Trae Young and Tyrese Halliburton. After those two, I've got Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Maxey. Wouldn't have Derrick White yet.
No,
After those 4, Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell.
And
You're missing 2 names.
I'm missing, I think, 1 name. Okay, because there's 2 names that I have, but I'm not going to name them just yet.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Next up is Damian Lillard.
All right, Damian Lillard.
So that's 6 guards above Derrick White. After those, I have Darius Garland and LaMelo Ball
I take Derrick White
over both of them.
over both. Yes,
So,
only because LaMelo's been hurt.
yeah.
LaMelo's been hurt this year. and Garland really hasn't done a lot this year. Like he's played well, but not
Up to
Derrick
his
White
standard.
well.
Love it. So you would have Derrick White as the 7th most deserving guard in the East.
Actually, I have 8th. I have one name that you have not said, and I have Tyler Hero.
Tyler Hero over
Derrick White.
Derrick
Yes,
White.
because
Make
if
the case
you
for me.
said what?
Make the case.
So if you look at this Miami Heat team, Bam Adebayo in the beginning of the season was playing great. Jimmy Butler's been down almost all year, and we've relied heavily on our role players. Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin when he does play, Haywood Highsmith, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Bam Adebayo here and there. Bam Adebayo, ever since coming back, before Bam was hurt, Bam was playing at that all-star level. So
Right.
I think Bam should be up there when it comes to bigs. But when it comes to guards, Tyler's the next guy. Everybody said, oh, Tyler won 6th man of the year. Tyler averaged 20 points coming off the bench. Now that he's a more efficient starter, he's averaging 25 a game. He's been the most consistent scorer. I understand the numbers may not say it because he's the one taking almost all the shots. Anywhere that's not in the paint or Bam's like turnaround jumper, it's all Tyler Hero.
Mm.
And the reason why we win games is because of Tyler's play in the fourth quarter the past 2 months. Tyler's play in the fourth quarter. Duncan Robinson's playing the fourth quarter, and Jaime Jaquez is leading the entire NBA in fourth quarter minutes. And Jaime's been that defender. Duncan Robinson's been doing a lot of everything. Tyler's job is to facilitate to those guys and to put the ball in the net. So Tyler, to me, I think Tyler has a case for an all-star reserve year.
Okay, so Hero, believe it or not, he's shooting the same percentage from 3 as he is at the rim, which is usually not a good thing.
Absolutely.
Usually not. He's been making more of his mid-range shots, and I'm impressed that he's starting to grow in that in-between space because for him, that's like the next part for him to become more than just a 6-man, an efficient one at that. But my question with Tyler Hero is, 1, he has missed half of this year, playing only 16 games, and that's why I have LaMelo out this discussion. But number 2, I don't know how much better he's been than Duncan Robinson. From an efficiency element, he's been slightly worse, and he's taking double the shots. Robinson's been on fire. It's a credit to him. But I feel like Hero is not necessarily as impactful, and I would say I don't think he's making the same difference that Derrick White is, and he's not getting to the foul line a whole lot. So he's taking 19 shots a game, getting around 23 and a half a night. It's been a good breakout year, a subtle breakout year. But I look at that Heat roster, and you're mentioning Jaime Jaquez is playing the fourth quarter with Hero. It feels more like a collaborative effort.
Absolutely.
Hero's playing a role in that, but I don't know if it had more DW.
I mean, it's like it could go either way because where you do have me with Derrick White is on the other side of the ball. Derrick White's defensive ability does put him, if Derrick White would win it over Tyler Hero, I would understand because of the defensive capabilities and all that. But when you look at the Miami Heat team, we started out really bad, and now we're the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, only behind the Sixers by a game, behind the Bucks by 2 games. And like we're creeping up with Jimmy missing almost 2 months.
Right.
So Bam's had his times. Jaime obviously he's played great, but Tyler's been the main guy.
He has been. And that's why I feel like it underscores how good White's been. I'm sorry. I hate to do this. But he's shooting the same percentage from 3, getting to the foul line just as often, while taking half the amount of shot attempts that Hero is, and he's only averaging 6 less points with more assists.
Okay.
So as Hero's been really good this year, quite frankly, I think he's kind of like the CJ McCollum right now in the Eastern Conference, where he's almost at that level, but not quite. And White's been even more impactful. That's why I think those are the top 2 reserve candidates. And White would be the first nod if a Tyrese Maxey, let's say, can't play, or a Dame if something flares up.
True. I actually did forget about Tyrese Maxey. I think Tyrese Maxey's been really well. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I have just about the same for the Eastern Conference. The only one is I don't have Trae Young. So I have Hallie, I have Tatum, I have Giannis, I have Embiid. The two guards I have fighting for that other spot is I have Damian Lillard, who's
Mm,
been very impactful when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks. Like Giannis has been that guy, of course, but one of the biggest things that the Milwaukee Bucks had trouble last year is that half court offense, and Dame has been lighting it up on that team. I
mhm.
understand their problems are on the defensive end. Their perimeter defense is disgusting. Like it's so bad.
It's really fallen off.
It's so horrible. But
What's been bigger, the perimeter defense or the coaching fall off for them?
I think it's the perimeter defense.
I
I'm
don't
not
think so
gonna
too, but both
lie.
have been bad.
The only reason coaching is kind of hidden is because of the way the players are. Like
Exactly.
I give what what's his name?
Adrian Griffin.
Yeah. So I do give him a lot of props when he puts certain lineups out there. Like when he puts like Dame, Malik, I like Beauchamp, Giannis, Brook. Like when he makes timely subs, which I think are great, and like Bobby Portis plays here and there,
Mhm.
obviously. But that's the only thing that's hiding his coaching flaws
Mm,
is the subs that he makes, and obviously the players like they play well together. That perimeter defense is just so horrible to watch.
yeah.
But I give the nod to Dame because Dame has been that guy in the half court offense. They're the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and Giannis was out. I think like 3 games. Dame's already had 2 or 3 40 balls,
Mm,
multiple double-digit assist games. So he's getting everybody involved. He's the same Damian Lillard that he was in Portland, except he's averaging 6 less points. Like he was averaging 31, 32 in Portland because he
last
had to
year.
carry an offense.
Right.
Now that he doesn't have to, he's averaging 25 and 7,
Mhm.
where he was averaging 32 and 4. And my other guard that I have between Dame is Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson's had a great year. I think Jalen Brunson could have arguably made it last year, arguably
Right.
made All NBA last year. And I think Jalen Brunson just picked up where he left off. Jalen Brunson is the best player in New York. Like that includes Knicks and Brooklyn. He's the best player in New York City. And he loves the pressure. He loves all that. He takes the last minute shots. For God's sakes, he lit up the Milwaukee Bucks. He dropped the 40 ball. Like he's been all over the place. I don't see why this is not the year. If he doesn't become a starter, he becomes a bench player.
It has to be.
Yes,
After last year's playoff performance too, that was the worst snub last year.
exactly.
The fact he didn't make the team at all was pretty bad. I can't remember an all-star snub as bad as that in recent years.
Yes, that was really bad. What also made me mad last year was you might hate me for this. Last year, I thought Dame had a little bit better. Dame had a little bit of a better year than
Steph?
than like Steph or
I I
or
agree.
not Luca. It was SGA,
Mm,
and neither of them made the playoffs.
mhm.
So I was like, they were like, oh, Dame didn't make it because they didn't make the playoffs. Luca didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
SGA didn't make the playoffs. So what's your excuse now?
I had Dame first team All NBA last year. I mean, that's why I have Trey above him. Trey's been actually shooting better from three, and that's been his biggest like disappointment. The fact he wasn't making shots.
Yeah.
He's averaging 12 assists, 11 and a half, and he's kind of been the only reason why the Hawks are a good offense. They get offensive rebounds, number one in the NBA. A large part of that is how he's able to set up Clint Capella and Yeke Kongwu off his
Mhm.
missed floaters and runners. To be honest with you, Trae Young's a top 10 player in the regular season, and that's above a guy like Dame to me because it's like Trae Young's a very specific fit. He's not necessarily the most complimentary player, but when you build the perfect lineup around him, you're not going to find anybody in the NBA who's more productive, not named Luka and Jokic and Embiid. Those
Mhm.
are the three guys. And Luka only brings a little bit more because he's 7 inches taller. So I think Trey's got to be like a shoe-in, to be honest with you. He's underrated right now. I'll say that.
Absolutely. I didn't have him in the starting lineup, but I could definitely see like
Right.
him making it.
'Cause I would have him above Brunson, and Brunson's been pretty good.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so after the All Stars, I got a little NBA trivia for you.
Let's do it.
So I've been seeing it all over social media, so I figured why not bring it to the trophy room. So I'm gonna give you a player's career path, and you have to guess the player.
Got you.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you a you gotta pick. I have 4 guys. So tell me right now, pick a number between 1 and 4.
3.
3. So you pick the easy one first.
Bet.
So for 3 teams: Utah, Boston, Charlotte.
Oh, it's Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward. Okay, so now you got 1, 2, and 4 left.
We'll go with 1.
1. Okay. This is a good one. So you have Utah, Cleveland, Sacramento, Golden State, Philly, New York, and Detroit.
Okay, so when you first said Utah to Boston, was that the
No,
second team?
Utah to Cleveland.
To Cleveland, I immediately thought of Rodney Hood, which is not the player. The player.
No, these are all active players.
These are all active players, right?
All
The
active.
player I then thought of was Alec Burks, but Alec Burks did not play on the Cavaliers. He does play on the Pistons right now. So I'm going to go on a limb and say Alec Burks at one point playing Cleveland, and that's the player.
Absolutely. Alec Burks.
What year did he play on the Cavs? Do you know?
That I do not know. I just have the
I'm trying.
path. The Cavaliers one did throw me off. I was like, when did he play on the Cavs? He might have been on the roster and just didn't play.
What gave it away to me was when he went Warriors, traded. No, he was on the Warriors, traded to the 76ers in the bubble, then on the Knicks and the Pistons. I was like,
Exactly.
oh, there's not many good players in the Pistons. So when you say them last, I'm going to think of like the 3 good ones.
Mhm.
And do you see that game winner he had, or the game
Oh my God, that
three?
was the game tying 3. Yeah, I saw
People were
that.
giving him flack. He took what would have been 2 for 1 shot the night and a half, the 2 games before, and then it turns out maybe we should put the ball in this guy's hands that game. Him and because Cade's been a little bit too differential. That's not the point.
Yeah. All right. So you got 2 and 4 left.
All right, let's go 4.
4. Okay. This is one of my favorites. So you have OKC, Houston, Brooklyn, Philly, Clippers.
All right. The pattern is Brooklyn. Brooklyn.
It's OKC, Houston, Brooklyn, Philly, Clippers.
Brooklyn, Philly, Clippers. Okay. James Harden.
There it is. Yeah.
I was really thinking of a role player, and that threw me off a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So this last one, I will be shocked if you get it.
All right.
Because I think this one is hilarious. You have Charlotte, Portland, Miami, New Orleans.
Charlotte, Portland, Miami, New Orleans. Charlotte, star there. Portland's. All right,
If you don't get it, I'll give you a hint.
Portland, Miami makes me think of Myers Leonard. Then New Orleans last, which means he's an active player. Oh man. Okay, well he's not one of their main stars. He's not one of their young guys. I think of Larry Nance, but he wasn't drafted by Charlotte. Oh, it's Cody Zeller.
There it is. Yep.
I had to run through the table.
Wow, how'd you get that?
The fact it's active players, it's going to be like one of 12 guys I can name. So that's
true. Yeah.
That helped me out a lot.
Think about 12 guys on the roster.
Let me give you one.
Oh,
it's one of my favorites. All right. So the player we're talking about started off in Dallas, then went to Boston, then went to Cleveland, to Utah, to Memphis, to Miami, to Phoenix, to Milwaukee.
Wait, you said Miami, Phoenix, Milwaukee?
Yes.
Where was he before Miami?
He was in Memphis.
It was Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
Come on now.
That's a long one. I thought maybe it's an easy one if you can get that pattern in the second half. But
yeah,
that's my favorite one because no one remembers he started off in Dallas. At least I kind of forget that. So that's a fun one.
Yeah, that threw me off a little bit. I was like, Dallas.
Him guarding Kobe in 2014.
Yes, I remember that. I was like, he started in Dallas. Then he played in Boston with Isaiah Thomas. And then where did he go after Boston?
Utah. No, Cleveland and Utah.
Cleveland. He played with LeBron, D Wade, Derrick Rose. He went to Utah, played with. Yep, I remember that.
Misfit Toys in Cleveland.
Yeah, that was funny. Oh my god. All right, man. So that will wrap up actually the NBA segment I have of this show. We're already an hour and 5 in. I love it. Love talking hoops. So, but now the last part of the show, we're gonna talk football. I don't know if you play fantasy.
I did. It was a rough year for me, man.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I missed the playoffs in 4 of my 5 leagues.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Don't draft Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow, and Nick Chubb.
Wow.
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 You want to know what my strategy was? It was running back, wide receiver, quarterback. The one league went quarterback in the first 3 was Josh Allen. That league made the playoffs. That team made the playoffs. But the issue is I drafted Bijan, thinking he would be a top 3 running back. Dennis Smith had something to say about that. Breece Hall, expecting to be a bit more consistent. I didn't know Aaron Rodgers' Achilles was going to be blown through his heel in week 1, play 3. And I also drafted Garrett Wilson in a bunch of my leagues too. And in one of the other leagues, Calvin Ridley as well. So every wide receiver I took played poorly, except there was one exception, and that was DJ Moore. I want to thank him because he had a great year. That was the one player who did do me right.
All right. Just to talk a little fantasy. I don't know if you've been seeing my tweets. Shout out to the guys that over at Fantasy Reaction. I made the chip in all 3 of my leagues, and I won 2 of them. So okay. I got some good money coming my way. I got a belt coming in the mail that I'm really excited about.
Big time. I've only won 2 leagues. That was in back-to-back years, but 2 of 3. How many teams are you talking about in these leagues?
One of them was 12. I think it was 12, 12, 10.
Which one do you not win in?
I lost one of the 12-man leagues, and I was really upset about it because that's the league that, like, those are like my friends that we do every year. We do a live draft, everything. And it's the 3rd time I came in 2nd place. 3rd time. I came in 2nd 2 years ago and the year before that.
Yeah, I've definitely got some stories of disappointing 2nd place finishes. I need to take a hiatus because this was such a bad year for me. And I've been very competitive in fantasy football, but I'm not very good. I don't know why. I've had some poor luck. Over the years.
It's all good, man. You just got to think about the numbers. That's really.
I did. I thought I was this year. Yeah. Not too much.
But just to start the NFL topic, I do want to start with the MVP race. So I understand a lot of people, it's very lopsided with, I don't know if you've seen the episode where I talk about my MVP in the beginning of the season and halfway. It's been the same guy, and I'm pretty sure he's going to win it, but I want to hear it from you. Give me some of your MVP candidates. I have 3.
I have 3 as well.
Okay.
So obviously right now, Lamar Jackson is a very clear front runner. The Ravens is locked up number 1 seed. He's probably the most important player to his team's success. Number 2, he's not a quarterback. I feel like it's CMC. The season he's had over 20 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. He's been the engine of that Niners team, but he's so valuable because they've never had durability at running back. And this has been one of the healthiest years altogether. I know he missed some time early on. He had that injury versus the Browns, but the fact he's been on the field almost every single week at that superstar level is kind of what's put him in that conversation for me. At the number 3, I went between a couple different players. At one point early this year was Brock Purdy. Another moment, it was Tua in like week 5. Dak Prescott, week 11. And I did land on Josh Allen because he has 40 touchdowns, the lowest sack rate in football. I mean, there have been so many problems in Buffalo, and he's had a shoulder injury the last couple of weeks, which has really stagnated his play. But when talking about just how unlucky he's been years past, 2020, he loses it to Aaron Rodgers. Last year, Aaron Rodgers was not necessarily that player, but Patrick Mahomes was. And the year in between, it was Aaron Rodgers again. You're talking about 2 of the 3 or 4 best quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers is the top 3 quarterback of all time. And when he's playing at his peak performance, there's really not much Josh Allen could have done in those years to win MVP. So because of I feel like with Brock Purdy, I want to see him sustain this level of play. With Josh Allen, it's like his 4th year playing at top 3 level, top 4 level.
It's like when are you going to give the guy the reward?
Exactly. I've always felt where Lamar is like the most meaningful player right now in football to his team, Allen's the most valuable. Could you take him off that Bills team? Their defense is not like Baltimore's. They're going to fall off more drastically, at least I believe. So, and we saw that last year when Lamar was hurt, that Raven team almost won a playoff game. Tyler Huntley making a big mistake that cost them 10 points. I don't remember if Bengals scored, but I think altogether, Allen would be number 3 for me. And he's just had an underrated year. I know Stephon Diggs has struggled a lot over the last couple of weeks, but
I don't know if he struggled because I watched a lot of Bills games. I just don't think Josh is throwing him the ball.
Right.
Because
He was inaccurate a little bit.
Their run game has been phenomenal the past couple weeks.
Up until the New England game, because
absolutely
they
James Cook was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that's what New England's done. But I want to give Josh Allen some credit at number 3. I think it's fair. I know he's been disappointing the last 2 weeks, but I think he deserves a top 3 over Dak personally.
Absolutely. No, I get it. I mean, for me, I had Lamar picked since the beginning of the year. I said this was going to be Lamar's year. You said everything. You said everything yourself. Ravens clinched the number 1 seed. Lamar has been the best quarterback in the league. Like this year, he's 14th in yards. He's 4th in QBR. He's only had 7 interceptions on the year. And I do want to bring up a play because I'm probably going to talk about this later in a TikTok. There was a video. No. There wasn't even a video. I was watching it last week when they were playing the Miami Dolphins. This guy is so amazing. So remember, Lamar Jackson is a right-handed football player. He drops back with his back turned to the camera like he's about to throw left hand. He turns back and he lets one rip to Zay Flowers and scores a touchdown. Like the amount of time, when Lamar Jackson first came in the league, you would never see something like that. You wait 2 more seconds, Lamar's running out the pocket. His pocket presence now, his timing, his patience, his arm strength has been just phenomenal over the past couple of years. He's improved as a passer, and he's showing it. Like he has an old and injured Odell Beckham. He has a Rashad Bateman. He has a rookie in Zay Flowers. He lost Mark Andrews, I think, 4 weeks ago. He lost half of his running back room, and he's still he's the best quarterback in the league right now.
I was making the case for Allen before, and I don't think I really highlighted just how good he's been. He's the example of quarterback where numbers just don't tell the full story. Versus Steelers, he had 3 touchdowns, which were all dropped. So he's at 24 touchdowns passing. I believe he only got 5 rushing. Let me double check. And the thing is, every time the Ravens get inside the 5-yard line, it's because Lamar is bringing them there. And then it's Gus Edwards finishing the drive. So Gus Edwards has 12 touchdowns this year. Half of them are on the goal line.
Exactly.
I feel like with Jalen Hurts, his MVP case was, well, to Jason Kelsey's stat. He's got 14 rushing touchdowns where they basically lift him off the ground and lead him into the end zone. With Lamar Jackson, he has had so many different opportunities to score and have 35 to 38 touchdowns opposed to 29. And the production is not there because he's just been the most meaningful player. That doesn't have to be the most productive to let his impact be felt. The Ravens are not great in pass protection. They have a good offensive line. And part of it is there's so many plays like the San Francisco game where the play breaks down, no one's open, and he has to make something happen out of structure. And it's Mahomes like. Last year we saw Mahomes become the first MVP to win the Super Bowl. History says MVPs don't win it. Lamar Jackson this year has the case to break NFL history. The first true dual threat, hyper athletic quarterback since Russell Wilson, Steve Young to win a Super Bowl. And the stigma is these types of players like Kaepernick, Newton, Jalen Hurts, all cannot win the big game. It's kind of not really reasonable to me. And then also, of course, most of the time, the MVP is not on the best team. The Ravens are not the best offense. Their defense is going to be Super Bowl material. I mean, no one can get anything going out to the catch versus them. They pass.
And they get to the
quarterback.
They just picked up Dalvin Cook.
Oh, he's cooked.
No, he's bad, but like I'm just saying to add to that that injured running back room.
Every year too. The defense is world class. It's number 1 football, which does a lot with the Browns and the Niners. It's well coached. And I felt like with Greg Roman, there was limitation there. This year with Todd Monken, it's been a different story. But yeah, when Dalvin Cook and Melvin Gordon are in that depth chart, and it's primarily Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, and Edwards has been good as a receiver and as a runner. Lamar has done so much with so little, and it's back
Absolutely.
to that 2019 season. I said before, though, I mean, he still has only been the Steelers one time. That's when Mason Rudolph got knocked out and Duck Hodges made his NFL debut.
Oh
If
my
Duck
God.
Hodges got that full start, he would never beat the Steelers as a starter, and that would be the one thing he can't do. We 0-5 versus them. Big fat 0-5. But everything else, I feel like Lamar is a generational player. What we're seeing is
Absolutely.
the most athletic, most dynamic runner, and he's also staying healthy while being an elite passer with great instincts.
Absolutely.
Eye test will tell you a lot more about him than Football Reference. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. Like I had Lamar these past 3 years in fantasy. He puts up numbers. I'm like, okay, great. But like this year, I really got to sit down because I started the pod. I was like, yeah, I really need to sit down, watch games. I really sat down and watched a whole day of Lamar Jackson film. I'm like, dude, I normally don't curse on my show, but I'm about to do it. This guy's fucking incredible. The way he can just his evolution is just, and it's crazy because when he first came in the league, they told him he should be a running back or a wide receiver. And now he's about to get his second MVP and possibly win a Super Bowl. Like it's ridiculous.
They're second. They're second in points and they're third in yards.
Like
Only 3 less points in their 2019 season when they led the NFL in points at 33.5.
like they're number one in they're number one in the conference. That deep, like you said, the defense is great. That the secondary is mediocre, but like Roquan has been so huge. Oh my god. Like they're just he
What
and
surprised me has been Javanian Clowney becoming a star in year 10.
yes, he's another one.
3 down star.
He was good in Cleveland and then he just fell off. And then he's like, oh, he's signing with the Ravens. I'm like, okay. And I just
And you know what? The unsung hero is their GM, Eric DaCosta, because he's done a phenomenal job over the years of the draft. 2022, Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Lindenbaum, David Ajabo. Ajabo had torn Achilles, only played 5 games as a pro. Travis Jones out of UConn, and Isaiah Likely in the 4th round of that draft. 2021, Rashad Bateman first round. All right. Odafe Owe, shout out to him, New Jersey native. Then after that, Ben Cleveland O-line, Brand Stevens cornerback. He's been one of the best corners this year. And you go back to 2020. Patrick Queen was named the Pro Bowler. I didn't agree with that. I don't think he's a superstar. He's a good player.
yeah,
And it's
we'll get
helped
to that.
having
We'll get to
Roquan.
that later.
But then J.K. Dobbins, great pick in the 2nd round. Unfortunately, hasn't been healthy. Justin Matabuke in the 3rd. He's been a superstar this year. A huge year 4 breakout. And after that, pretty mid-draft, but Geno Stone in the 7th round. Stone this year has been a huge part of that defense. Currently has 9 pass deflections and 7 interceptions. So you look at their draft decisions after 2018, they've consistently stacked on good players on both sides of the ball. And with Lamar, there's one more point I think I want to make. I'm forgetting. It'll come to me at some point. But as a Steeler fan, it's kind of frustrating that a team could draft so well around a young quarterback and have such a good coaching staff. They feel a lot like last year's Eagles, where they had Gannon and Sykin. This team has McDonald's and Ken Dorsey. John Harbaugh, he's put himself into, if they win a Super Bowl this year, some all-time talks. And Lamar himself, he's going to be a Hall of Famer if they can win a Super Bowl this year, as early as year 5 in the NFL, year 6 in the NFL. So I said a lot right there, but
it's just like it's ridiculous. But to talk about the 2 other candidates I have for MVP, obviously I had Josh Allen lead the league in no, number 2, yeah. I had Josh Allen leads the league in touchdowns, 7th in yards, 3rd in QBR. He's had an underrated season. I think when you make the case for Lamar that he's doing more with less, I think you can make the same argument with Josh Allen. Just Lamar's been on a better team. Lamar's shown a lot better. The Bills have been up and down where the Ravens have been all the way up. And just my last guy, I wasn't big on him coming into the year, but he's got the statistics to be an MVP.
Right.
And that's Dak Prescott. He's fourth in yards. He's first in passing touchdowns. He only has 8 interceptions on the year, and he's second in QBR.
Mm.
Like the Dallas Cowboys are nobody to play with. I understand they've had an up and down past couple weeks, just like the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you look at this team, CeeDee Lamb's had a breakout year. Brandon Cooks has been okay, but he's only been okay because of Dak. Terrence Ferguson came out of nowhere because of Dak.
Jake
And I think
Ferguson.
I think Dak's been. You said what?
Jake Ferguson.
I said Terrence Ferguson.
Hey, he's a crazy leaper, though. I know what you mean.
Absolutely. But like when you look at Dak and the Cowboys, like I think Dak has grown the past 2 years, and I think he should be considered to be. He's not going to win, but I'm going to give him a lot of credit because he should be in the conversation.
I like it because coming this year, I compared Dak Prescott to Paul George. And the same way Paul George had that late career renaissance with Thunder where he makes a MVP push.
Yes.
Now, he talks about it now on his podcast like he won MVP that season. Bro, he came in third. But I think in the same way, still, Paul George was fantastic that year. First team All-NBA. Dak's had that same type of year. We know he's not going to win. He's probably third or fourth. And I do want to highlight Brock Purdy, too, because there's been a negative undertone when talking about him. Purdy's been a star in his role.
Absolutely.
That has an undertone as well. Brock Purdy's been a star this year, and the 49ers have elevated because of his play, and he's not a game manager. I've been away from him being the leading candidate for MVP because it's far and away the best supporting cast in football. Dak has done a lot more, and that's another example. Only CeeDee Lamb's his premier weapon, and the Cowboys are top 3 in points, and that's without Kellen Moore. Mike McCarthy coming in. He's been inconsistent. Tony Pollard's coming off.
I was just about to say Tony Pollard's been nowhere to be found.
Inconsistent, starting to pick it up. They don't have Zeke on the goal line and, brand new tight end as well. So Brock Purdy will probably be 4 or 5 for me. And I think next year, if he sustains his level of play where super productive, takes good care of the ball, he can climb up into the top 2. But I just want to see another year of it from him. Whereas with Dak, we've seen him play at that type of top 10 quarterback level for a while. We've just been hesitant because he hasn't done it in the playoffs. I think I don't know about you. I was always a Dak Prescott hater.
I wasn't a hater. I was very low on him.
He's really warmed up on me over the last year. I think the moment where it all changed was when he got booed at the Super Bowl by a lot of Eagle fans. And that was where I said, this guy's got an underdog strike I have to root for. And ever since that moment, he's become a really likable player altogether. So, him and Josh Allen with Brock, that would be like 3 through 5, and they all deserve some consideration.
Absolutely.
At least they did.
Yeah. So now I want to ask you about your top 5 Super Bowl contenders real quick.
Okay.
So, and then after that we can get into all pro snubs because I think for me there's like 2 or 3.
There are some big ones.
Yes.
So at the very top, do you want me to start there?
No, I usually start bottom to top.
Okay. Would you like to go first? Because I still have to kind of relook at mine. Let's make sure
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So at number 5, I actually have the Detroit Lions. I have the Detroit Lions because I think Jared Goff has had an underrated year. I think the combination of now David Montgomery and the emergence of Jahmyr Gibbs has been great. Amon-Ra could have arguably been oh my God, I'm blank.
Was he named the Pro Bowler?
No, he was not.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's tough. That wide receiver position is impossible this year.
Absolutely.
There's only 6 guys.
In the NFC is really hard. So like I think Amon-Ra had a arguable like a Pro Bowl year, and like their defense has been pretty good, especially losing CJ Gardner-Johnson, which was your big pickup in the offseason. Losing him so early in the season, you really thought that defense was going to take a downfall, but they're 11-5. They won their division. Dan Campbell has been a great coach, and they should have won that game against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be 12-4 right now, which still winning their division. They could have, they're up there, and if they could make a playoff push, we all know Jared Goff has been to the Super Bowl, so we know Jared Goff has had that playoff success, and he's been there. So it's just a matter of if everybody else can like pick up what he's putting down and figure out a success to win. I don't know if they can win Oh, excuse me. I don't know if they can win a first round like stunner, but it's a possibility. I think at number 4 you have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this as eh, the past couple weeks they've been up and down, but you cannot ignore the fact that AJ Brown is an All Pro. AJ Brown's been a Pro Bowler this year. Devontae Smith is one of the second best wide receivers in the league. DeAndre Swift was a Pro Bowler. That Jason Kelsey, Pro Bowler. I thought it was a little bit crazy that Jalen Hurts didn't make it, but I understand. But like, we're not gonna not talk about the fact that Jalen Hurts went on a rampage last year, and what's telling me that he can't do it again this year with the same weapons, with almost the same team. I understand that secondary is bad. Like, I love Slay. I think he's great. Everybody else on that secondary is not good.
Not a big Blankenship guy? Yeah.
That the front line is good. The defensive line, offensive line, they're all good. I'm never going to count out the Eagles because I think Jalen Hurts can turn it on like that. Number 3, we talked about Dak. We talked about the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb has been probably an all-pro year. CeeDee Lamb's been arguably probably a top 2, top 3 wide receiver this year behind Tyreek Hill. He could fight for that number 2 spot. We talked about that defense. That defense has been good. Deron Bland leading the league in interceptions. Micah Parsons has been up and down, but we all know what Micah can do. We all know Micah can be that guy. And then the top 2 teams is pretty easy. I think at 2 you have the Niners, and at number 1 you have the Ravens.
I like that list a lot. As you're going through it, I had one difference, and it was that I have a surprise team instead of the Eagles, because I think the Eagles have so much talent at the offensive side. I mean, everywhere it's loaded, but
I feel like I know who you're about to say.
They're a very poorly coached team, and I feel like all year long they've held back their talent because they're so stubborn in the way they want to play after Steichen left. Everything is at a shotgun, and it's kind of taken away their ability to play multifaceted football where they can't run play action. They're not running as many explosive outside plays to get DeAndre Swift going where he's at his best. He doesn't feel like the right scheme fit for this like inside zone power type of look. And then also, I think Jalen Hurts has taken a slight step back because of the coaching. And yeah, I don't have them. It's top 5. I really want to put the Browns in this discussion. So they're going to be an honorable mention, but they're not going to come in. So at number 5, I'm going to reluctantly put the Cowboys. I have zero belief in them in the playoffs, but I really do like their offense with Tony Pollard playing better, further removed from injury. And really, they just have so many superstars in their defense on the edge and at cornerback. I like their duo. I have more faith in them than the Eagles, who really just have a couple of good defensive linemen. That's it. Their linebackers stink. Secondary is not good. So the Eagles were like outside my top 6. So after the Cowboys, number 5, I've got the Los Angeles Rams at number 4. And it's insane because they've barely beaten teams like the Commanders and the Giants, and they don't seem like a true Super Bowl contender with a record of 9-7. They're also a wild card team. But when looking at the state of the NFC, no team matches up better with the San Francisco 49ers than the Rams. With Kyren Williams playing a top 10 level, their run game is clearly established. But it's taken some time for them to get to this point. Cooper Kupp out to start the year. And Matthew Stafford is playing some of the best football of his career with a Super Bowl winning head coach in Sean McVay. Their defensive line has come together. And I look at the coaching and quarterback. I think it's pretty darn good. I feel like it's Super Bowl material, but the drafting by Les Snead has been great. I think they really rebuilt this roster as well as you can ask for in 1 year. But then I believe their weapons with Puka, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, and Tutu Atwell as that third option, that gadget piece. It's so versatile. They're better than what they're showing right now in the regular season. I've said this all year long. They're a lot better than their record. We see them stomp on the Seahawks, getting huge, close, come from behind wins. I would take them over the Cowboys. They're a better team right now than the Eagles. I think it's because they got their quarterback, better coach, and their weapons are on a similar level as Philadelphia. Like, what is really the gap between A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and this is DeAndre Swift, and injured Dallas Goedert, and then Puka Nacua is about to break the all-time rookie receiving record. Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Tyler Higbee. I think there's more depth with this Rams group. Tutu Atwell's way better than the Quez Watkins. They can beat you in a lot of ways. So I know the Rams are a crazy pick at 4, but they've got a really good offense. And their defense will be just all right with that pass rush, and specifically the interior defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
At number 3, I've got the Chiefs. Kansas City, to me, is going to go to the AFC Championship game this year with no Bengals. The Bills are going to be a wild card team. And going to Kansas City on the road is something that not many teams can do and win. Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid are usually going to prepare for that moment, and they've been there so many different times. I'm optimistic that their weapons are better than last year. I mean, when I say that, there is a clear, obvious note. Jerick McKinnon and Travis Kelce have both regressed, but Rashee Rice is better than Juju, and I think he's a star. And when looking at Isaiah Pacheco in year 2, really being fully established, I don't think Kansas City's weapons are as bad as people make them out to me. It's just Kadarius Toney's an absolute liability, and MVS can't be trusted. But with Mecole Hardman coming back, they can still upgrade at other parts. And I just think Rashee Rice is such a game changer that he brings the explosive playmaking that Juju did not. And quite frankly, the Chiefs defense puts them in a good position. But I think they'll be good enough to go to the Final Four. Number 2, I've got the Niners. And the reason why they're not number 1, where they have been all year long, is because the Ravens have beaten up on every good team.
And they beat the Niners.
You talk about them beating up on the Niners badly. The Lions stomped. They've had premier wins every single week in the regular season. But there's one thing for me. I don't like them resting Lamar for 2 weeks, because the last time they rested their starters with the bye week, they came out flat versus the Titans, and they got run all over by Derrick Henry. I felt like versus Steelers, they should play Lamar for a quarter or 2, just that there's not too much rust in that divisional round game. Because let's be honest, the Ravens are a great regular season team, but they still have not gone over the yips in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And until they do, I don't think they can take it as if they've been there and done that. Lamar can get hurt in that Week 18 game, yes. But 2 weeks is a lot of time off. And the NFL, sometimes 1 week is more than enough. Maybe they want to get everybody else right, everybody else healthy, and they rest some other guys that need it. But I am a little bit worried that they're going to come out flat in the divisional round here. I think they're very beatable.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like we've literally seen this before. Like, he sat and he did not play well. They got ran over by Derrick Henry.
I will say he had 140 rushing yards in that Titan game, but the passing game was so poorly designed that when Henry took over, there's no way they could really retaliate. Like, the Titans were better at playing the Ravens style than they were. So there are a couple of differences, but like, I don't think 2 weeks off is a good thing. That's just my personal opinion. I think that's too much time to be off.
That's true. No, I get it. I mean, as the playoffs right now, the way it looks in the AFC, you have the Ravens as the number 1 seed. You would have Miami number 2 against Indianapolis. You have Kansas City number 3 against the Bills in the first round. I think that's huge. And then you have Jacksonville and Cleveland. Now, you still have the Texans in the hunt and the Steelers at 8 and 9. That smile on your face was so funny. And then when you look at the NFC picture, you have the Niners at 1. You have the Cowboys at 2 against the Packers at 7. You have the Lions and the Rams at 3 and 6. And then you have the Bucks against the Eagles at 4 and 5. Now, this in the hunt list is even longer. You have the Seahawks as the 8th seed. You have the Saints as the 9th seed. You have the Vikings as the 10th seed. And you have the Atlanta Falcons as the 11th seed. All who could possibly make the playoffs, which I think is a little bit wild to me. But, I mean, we'll see what happens.
We need Dennis Smith gone as the win next year. So if the Falcons could miss the playoffs, that would be very nice. I'd appreciate that. My Bijan Robinson hype.
Oh boy! Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about in the NFL topic, I do want to talk about the Pro Bowl selections. So, is there a specific position you wanted to start at?
I felt like the quarterbacks were right. The wide receivers were right.
I actually don't think the quarterbacks were right.
You think Jalen Hurts should have been on the team?
No, I don't think Matthew Stafford belongs there.
Wow.
Yes.
Why?
So I think when you look at Stafford and the Rams, like, don't get me wrong, I think Stafford's had a great year, but I just like who are I don't know. Like when I saw that, I was like, Matthew Stafford? I
What
thought
do you
that
think?
was I thought that was very weird. So I think when you look at that, like you could have put Dak made a Pro Bowl. I think you could have put Jared Goff. Jared Goff has a case. Obviously not Baker. Maybe Jalen, but I understand why you would lean Jared and not, why you would lean Matthew Stafford.
Mhm.
Um, those are really my only two. Um, I listen. No disrespect to Matthew Stafford. Obviously, I give the guy a lot of props. He won a Super Bowl while leading the league in interceptions. That's a big thing to me. But I don't know. Matthew Stafford getting that, it was a little bit iffy to me. And then when you look at the AFC, you have Lamar, obviously. Mahomes. I love Mahomes. People talk about he's the face of the league. Yes. I don't know. I don't know if this was the year he got it. You could have put Josh Allen up there. Like Josh Allen not making a Pro Bowl is weird to me.
Right. I
Like,
think Patrick Mahomes is the only thing that's weirder, personally. Because the Chiefs' offense is still top 10
true.
in multiple big statistics like yards and points.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for as bad as things have been made out to be, they still are a good offense mainly because of Pat.
It's
You
true.
got to think of all the MVS and Kadarius Toney blunders, the bad drops, and Travis not being.
Talk about doing more with less.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I understand Tua. Tua's just a Tyreek Hill merchant, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think the kid's great. I think the kid's good. I just like I don't know. And then you
Strong.
said the wide receivers were right?
Can you rename them?
Absolutely. I'm trying to find it. Oh, I have them here. So oh wait, no, that's not it. Wide receivers. In the NFC, you got CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Puka Nacua, and Mike Evans. No Brandon Ayuk is
Mhm.
really bothering me.
Right.
No Brandon Ayuk is really bothering me. And I'm not gonna lie, the AFC, only I think two of them belong, two of them don't.
Which ones?
I think so Tyreek Hill and Amari Cooper belong.
Okay.
Keenan Allen and Jamar Chase, I don't think belong.
Right. That's fair. With Chase specifically.
Absolutely. I think Chase, I don't know why Chase is up there, in my opinion. I think you could have made an argument for Garrett
George
Wilson.
Pickens.
You said who?
George Pickens.
George Pickens. I mean,
1,140 yards on 18 yards per reception. Only Brandon Ayuk is higher.
that's true.
Maybe Mike Evans as well. I actually, yeah.
I heard
only
Mike
Ayuk is higher.
Evans is, but I understand why you give it to Mike Evans. He had another
Awful.
1,000-yard receiving,
And
all
13
that.
touchdowns too.
You said what?
13 touchdowns, which is over almost double Ayuk.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's crazy. Since he's come in the NFL, he's been nearly identical to Devontae Adams in production. And I feel like Mike Evans at this point, no one really puts him in the top 10 wide receiver discussion, but he's been that like for almost 10 years. So I'm happy he got him.
He's been nothing but consistency.
He's only a 4-time Pro Bowler. After all the years of playing with Jameis and Fitzpatrick helping them, now he's doing Baker.
Really?
He actually leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns.
Wow.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, when it comes, yeah, AFC, two belong, two don't belong. I think the tight ends are fine, except the NFC. I think Sam Laporta's great. but how is TJ Hawkinson not up there? I
Mm,
understand he's hurt,
right.
but you still have to give him the nod.
Mm,
Like, it's not like he was hurt 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. He got hurt last week.
right.
Like, you still have to give him the nod. You know, George Kittle, fine. Travis Kelsey, fine. David Njoku, fine.
I'm happy Njoku got in. He deserves it this
Absolutely.
year. Bro came back from getting second-degree burns and was still playing the next week. He's been a star this year, and that's
Mhm.
come with the worst quarterback play far and away. Some of the worst quarterback play, I'll say, in the AFC. There's definitely some
Absolutely.
teams out there.
When you look at the running back position, I think NFC is completely right. You have Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Kyron Williams, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
The AFC, Raheem Mostert, okay, he leads the league in rushing touchdowns. James Cook, he was a little bit up and down. And Derrick Henry, I think they just gave it to him for his name.
I agree.
Yes. I could make an argument for Brees, but I'm not going to. Because Brees is more of a dual threat kind of running back. I still
Right.
think he maybe could have got it.
It's tough with the AFC because Josh Jacobs had a slow start. Nick Chubb's been hurt.
Absolutely, yes.
Eckler's been hurt and not as productive as years past. And J.K. Dobbins obviously
Right.
hurts.
Yep.
Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are the best running back duo in the NFL. So maybe one of them could get some love. And you laugh, but hey, if Jalen Warren were getting more touches, I think he would be taking that third spot personally. And by the way, I do think James Cook and who was the
Raheem
other running
Mostert.
Raheem Mostert, they deserve it. I think they're shoo-ins personally.
No, Raheem Mostert, yes. James Cook, I understand the nod. Absolutely. No, yeah. And then fullbacks, you have Kyle Juice. How do you say his name? Juszczyk?
Kyle Kuszczak.
Oh, Kuszczak, yeah. And then you have Alec Ingold. Um, Corners. I love this list, except one person. Um, I always have something to say. NFC, Deron Bland, Chavarius Ward, Jalen Johnson, Devin Witherspoon. I love it.
Hmm.
I think it's great. AFC, this is where I have an issue. Pat Surtain, obviously. Sauce Gardner, obviously. Denzel Ward, yes. Jalen Ramsey, he didn't play enough to me. Like, I understand
That
Jalen Ramsey is the guy on that defense, but bro, you've been out half the season.
that should have been L'Jarius Sneed. And yeah,
Yes.
Ramsey played how many games?
I think 7
9.
or 8. You said he played what?
9.
9 games out of an 18-week season. Like,
17, but yeah.
that's horrible. And
And
then,
L'Jarius Sneed, I mean, he's been a borderline superstar for that Chiefs defense. That pass defense specifically, which has been probably the strongest part of their team. So
absolutely. And then safeties, that's easy. Julian Love, Buda Baker, Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, Minka Fitzpatrick, Kyle Hamilton. I don't see why Minka should get it every year.
he should. This has been his worst season. It's been tough for him. He's been hurt. He was
Yeah.
playing with a broken hand, then had a hamstring injury, or he had he's been hurt 3 separate times this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a tough. He's got no interceptions for the first time.
I
Actually, even
know.
wow, first year of his career, he's gonna have 0.
Yeah.
Seems like only played 10 games. I felt like maybe that should have went to. Oh man, I guess no one specifically because Jesse Bates went to the NFC. But
Yeah. You got D ends is great. Aiden Hutchinson is phenomenal. I think that kid's great. Nick Bosa, Montez Sweat, Miles Garrett, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, interior lineman. I like Quentin Williams, Chris Jones, Dexter, Aaron Donald, Hassan Reddick, outside linebackers, Micah, TJ. Yeah, I
Josh
mean,
Allen's a great pick.
yeah, Josh Allen was great. I think it's funny how the inside linebackers is literally the two guys from Baltimore.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
don't know.
funny.
And Bobby Wagner as well. I mean, we want to talk about popularity votes. He gets it every single year as most popular guy in town. I don't know if
Yeah, Bobby Wagner.
he's a good player, but yeah, I don't know if he's top 4 linebacker in the sport. That's the one thing that does bother me.
Hmm.
Linebackers, it's never about tackles. Because if it were, Blake Martinez would be a top 5 linebacker in football. He's the Steelers' 4th linebacker when they're already down their top 3 guys. And so it really comes down to the eye test, and I feel like so many of us just don't have enough information to really be voting for these linebackers. That's the only way that Bobby Wagner can make a Pro Bowl game every single year, and he's been out of his prime for 3 years.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
it's what it is.
but I mean, that's all I got, man. That's listen, man. Do you have anything to say before we wrap up?
Nothing specifically. I already ran my mouth enough.
It's all good. Don't even worry about it. But listen, John, I appreciate you coming on here, man. I appreciate you being with me here in the trophy room. Um, yeah, man. Just to wrap up the show, make sure you guys like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys go check out Pick a Side Podcast. And make sure you check out John's TikTok. What is it? At John
John
Tortorelli?
Tortorelli and my YouTube. Show my
Yeah.
YouTube as well.
Yeah, follow
I
me.
was very inconsistent in 2023.
Mhm.
It's kind of difficult balancing like life, but this
Absolutely.
year I'm going to be really trying to lock in on it to grow as much as possible. So that's one of
Mhm.
my biggest goals. If you want to check me out there, it's John Tortorelli.
Yeah, John Tortorelli on YouTube, TikTok, and make sure you check him out on the Joel Moran show. Make sure you check it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we're going hard.
Yeah, I see you guys be talking over there. I'm
Yeah,
like,
we've been
damn,
going
you guys
hard.
have so many shows. I'm trying to keep up.
Appreciate that. No, it's been a lot because we're doing NFL. It's my first year talking football, so
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
So still trying to get better at it.
No, it's all good. Don't worry about it, man. But yeah, make sure you guys like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, and like I always like to end every show, man. Make sure you tell your friends.